So have you ever felt sort of boxed in, thinking within just one field, maybe?
Yeah, like hitting a wall sometimes.
Exactly. Or, wished you could just connect different ideas more easily. See those links between, say, science and art.
Definitely.
Well, if that rings a bell, then I think today's deep dive is going to be really interesting for you. We're diving into interdisciplinarity and the student voice. Basically what students themselves are saying about learning across these traditional academic lines.
Right. And our roadmap for this is a really insightful chapter by Carl Gombrich and Michael Hogan. It's from the Oxford Handbook of Interdisciplinarity.
So our mission really is to get a handle on the key skills, the qualities that seem to emerge from this kind of education. And we're using the students' own experiences, their words, as our guide.
Yeah.
To hopefully get a real shortcut to understanding why this approach is becoming so important and maybe have some of those aha moments yourself. And just for context, this is all based on a study that looks specifically at the psychology of what they call interdisciplinary education, or IE.
Yeah, i.e., and crucially, it looked at it through the eyes of undergrads.
Right.
And that's what makes this really quite exciting, actually, because the psychology of it all, especially from the student angle, it's a very young field.
Really? You'd think people would have asked the students before now.
Well, yeah, but most research tended to focus on, designing the courses or what the universities got out of it.
Okay.
This focused mainly on the student's own lived experience. That's pretty rare. So this study is quite significant. It's exploratory, but needed. We get to hear straight from them.
And it's a really key point, isn't it? Because this whole idea of interdisciplinarity, well, it's actually pretty new in UK universities, formal programs anyway.
Right. It's not like the U.S. where they've had that liberal arts tradition for ages, encouraging broader study.
Yeah, the UK, historically, it's been much more about the two cultures, that big split.
The arts and humanities over here, sciences and engineering over there, a real divide.
And crossing that line academically, that was, well, unusual. Maybe even a bit frowned upon sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting to see how this contrasts globally, too.
How so?
Well, while the U.S. has this established tradition, you're seeing huge growth and interest in places like India, China. There's even a new term popping up in Chinese, ku suiko, which means something like across subjects. So it's gaining ground, but it's still, developing in many places compared to the U.S. model. It's a global thing, but everyone's starting from different points.
So back to the UK then. Against this backdrop of super specialized degrees, there was this really pioneering program launched at UCL.
University College London, yeah. Their arts and sciences degree, the BAS.
BSc, right? Launched back in 2012. And you could argue it was the first really major interdisciplinary undergrad degree in the UK this century.
Seems that way. And it started big for UCL, too. 87 students in the first year.
Which was their largest single undergrad launch then, apparently.
Yeah, and now it's grown to over 450 students. So clearly it struck a chord.
Definitely.
And it wasn't just some random idea. It came out of UCL's big Transforming Education initiative. They were actively trying to break down those old silos.
Makes sense.
And they used a really broad definition for IE. Basically, any education that does not confine itself to studying just one discipline. Simple as that.
Okay.
But the real validation, I think, comes from the graduates. Where did they end up?
Yeah, what happened to them?
Well, they've done incredibly well. In really diverse fields. We're talking PhDs in things like computational neuroscience.
Wow.
Master's degrees in paleobiology, energy systems, international security.
So really specific, high-level stuff.
Exactly. But also careers straight into law, finance, consulting, NGOs, journalism. I mean, it's all over the map.
That's impressive. It really shows the value of that broader grounding. It cuts across everything.
It really does.
But I wonder, was there pushback initially from, traditional academics? Worries that it was too broad, maybe? That it wouldn't prepare students properly for specialized fields?
That's a fair question. And yeah, whenever you innovate, there's bound to be some skepticism.
Sure.
The push for the Bascrift really came from realizing that, well, real-world problems don't fit neatly into academic boxes, right?
Right.
And maybe single-subject degrees weren't giving students the full toolkit. The report doesn't go deep into the politics of setting it up.
Okay.
But the fact that a big player like UCL went for it and scaled it up, that says a lot. And then those graduate outcomes you mentioned, they kind of became the best answer to any doubters.
Yeah, hard to argue with that success. Okay, so let's dig into the how. How did this Basque degree actually do it? How did it cultivate that interdisciplinary thinking? It sounds like it wasn't just letting students pick random modules.
No, definitely not. It was quite structured. Unique, really. They split the study time 50-50.
50-50 between what?
Between a core program that had compulsory bits and some electives, and then one of 4 specialized pathways.
Okay, what was in the core?
Some really interesting stuff. Compulsory modules like Approaches to Knowledge, which was basically Intro to Interdisciplinarity, quantitative methods, essential skills there, the knowledge economy, that one involved a real-world consultancy project, and interdisciplinary research methods. Plus, everyone did a foreign language.
Oh, language, too. That itself feels pretty interdisciplinary.
Absolutely. And then electives like exploring complexity or even object-based learning using museum objects.
Wow. And the pathways, what were they?
4 choices: cultures, societies, health and environment, and sciences and engineering.
Right. And they had a major minor system, you said.
Yes, but here's the key thing, the really unique part. Students had to take courses from both science, math, and non-science areas throughout the whole degree.
Ah, so no hiding. If you majored in cultures, you had to minor in, say, sciences or health.
Exactly. Or the other way around. That cross-pollination was baked in. You couldn't avoid it.
Got it.
And it wasn't just what they learned, but how. They used a lot of different teaching methods, flipped lectures, lots of multimedia stuff, a big emphasis on teamwork, team projects.
Okay.
And some really striking things like engineering modules with no math.
No math. In engineering, how does that work?
Well, presumably focusing on design thinking, problem solving, systems, maybe ethics. The point is, it challenges assumptions.
Definitely does.
And that object-based learning, looking at artifacts from multiple angles. These weren't just, trendy teaching fads.
Right.
They were designed specifically to get students grappling with less structured, more open-ended problems, the kind you find in the real world.
Instead of just finding the single right answer in a textbook.
Precisely. It builds different intellectual muscles, those higher-order thinking skills.
Okay, that makes sense. But the real core of this, the gold we found in the research, was from the students themselves. What did they say? What qualities did they think mattered?
Exactly. So the researchers did 13 interviews, semi-structured, with students who were doing well in the program.
Okay.
And they weren't just casual chats. The questions really pushed them to reflect on interdisciplinarity, what it meant to them, what it took to succeed.
What kind of questions?
Things like, what does interdisciplinarity actually mean to you? And what kind of qualities, intellectual or personal, do you think you need for this?
Right.
And from all those conversations, 4 big themes kept coming up again and again.
Okay, 4 themes.
Yeah, 4 themes that give us this really rich sort of bottom-up understanding from the learners. And these aren't just about getting good grades. They seem crucial for working in complex settings generally.
So let's unpack those. What was the first big quality the students highlighted?
The first one, almost unavoidable it seemed, was openness, open-mindedness.
Okay. How did they put it?
Well, and Nellie just said it straight. You need to be very open-minded.
Pretty clear.
George said, well, the obvious one would be to be open-minded, like it was table stakes. And Victor saw it as something he had to learn. He said, I think what I had to learn in the beginning is to be very open-minded about everything.
So it sounds like either you need it coming in or you develop it fast.
Pretty much. And this links directly to a well-known idea in psychology, doesn't it?
The big 5 personality traits.
Exactly. Openness to experience. It describes people who are, curious, imaginative, eager for new ideas, new experiences, different perspectives.
Right.
McCrae and Costa, the psychologists behind it, talk about the breadth and depth of your awareness, the need to enlarge and examine experience.
Right.
And fascinatingly, one student, Josephine, she suggested this openness might actually be more important than specific academic skills.
They're important than being good at math or writing essays.
That's what she seemed to imply.
Right.
Which suggests maybe program directors should think about how to actively nurture that openness, not just assume students have it.
Which brings up that question again. Can you teach openness? Or do these programs just attract open-minded people?
Yeah. The classic nature versus nurture dilemma. We'll definitely circle back to that because the students had thoughts on it too.
Okay.
But you could argue the very structure of the BSE, forcing you into different fields, different ways of thinking, it has to demand and probably develop some openness, right? It pushes you.
Yeah, you can't stay in your comfort zone.
Okay.
So openness is key. What was the second theme?
The second one, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, is creativity.
Creativity. Not just artistic creativity, I assume.
No, much broader. Creative problem solving. Maria put it really well. She said, creativity, definitely. Creative problem solving all around. Because with core modules, you always need to see stuff from different perspectives. I think they really push this.
So the course structure itself encouraged it.
Seems so. And she also added later that a big reason she chose the course was because she thought it would let her be creative and technical at the same time.
That's a powerful combination. The chapter mentions critically creative thinking.
Yes, that phrase captures it well. It connects to ideas like Wertheimer's productive thinking. Really understanding a problem deeply, not just applying rules by rote, getting genuine insight.
Yep.
And this focus really challenges some traditional education models, which, maybe without meaning to, can sometimes stifle creativity, create a sort of creativity deficit.
Right. Did other students link creativity and interdisciplinarity?
Oh, yeah. Eva was another one. She strongly connected IE with creativity, with thinking outside the box. And crucially, she believed it can be taught.
She thought you could teach creativity.
Yeah, if students are motivated, because the course constantly makes you link things that seem unconnected, find new angles.
That's quite optimistic. I like that.
Me too. And Tom, another student, he had this really forward-looking take.
What did he say?
He thought anyone could learn creativity, even if some find it easier naturally, and he predicted interdisciplinarity would become more mainstream. Because, in his words, employers will want it more, and academics are realizing that one linear look at academia isn't very conducive to creativity.
So the demand is coming from the outside world, basically.
That's his prediction. The complexity of modern problems needs that creative, connecting kind of thinking. Employers see that.
Okay, so openness and creativity. What happens when you put those together? Where does that lead?
It leads beautifully into the third theme, bridging. Building bridges.
Ah, okay, like bridging different fields.
Exactly. Maria, again, put it so simply, interdisciplinarity means bridging a gap that is massive and obvious between existing disciplines.
Massive and obvious. Yeah, you see it all the time.
You do. And Adriano, another student, he had this fantastic analogy. He saw the interdisciplinarian as an essential bridge builder and facilitator.
A bridge builder. I like that.
Yeah. He said, sometimes people speak the English language, but they can't speak the same academic language.
That's so true. The jargon.
Totally. He went on, well, you can see that interdisciplinarity means you learn the language of both and you are a bridge. You connect the two together.
So you become like a translator between experts.
Exactly. He also said, every team will need someone who can make the connection, and then this great image. I think knowledge is like a web, different fields, and we become like the strings which connect each of them together.
Wow, that's quite profound, like weaving the knowledge network.
Isn't it? And it highlights that this isn't just about being smart yourself, it's about helping groups work better. Facilitation, drawing out different views, synthesizing them.
And even thinking about how the team thinks.
Yes. Metacognitive collaboration. Teams actually reflecting on how they're tackling the problem together. That's a really advanced skill. They're not just learning stuff, they're learning how to connect stuff and how to help others connect stuff too.
That academic universal translator idea is really sticking with me.
It's a good one.
Okay, so being open, being creative, building bridges, this feels like it naturally flows into the fourth theme, which involves understanding those different perspectives you're bridging.
You got it. The fourth theme is multiple perspectives and perspective taking. Really seeing things through different lenses.
How did students talk about this?
Well, Anneli gave a concrete example. For her, interdisciplinarity meant looking at problems from different angles, like how people express themselves through art.
Okay, the artistic view.
But also how scientists look at it and the psychology of it. So she was actively combining those different viewpoints on the same phenomenon.
Right, taking the scientific lens, the psychological lens, the artistic lens.
Exactly. And Georgie, who leaned towards math, said IE meant going away from just the calculations and just looking at them from a perspective that probably someone doing straight maths wouldn't look at it from.
So seeing the context, the implications beyond just the numbers.
Precisely. Broadening the view. It's not just saying, oh, other people think differently. It's trying to adopt those perspectives to get a richer picture.
And Nadia had a really powerful reflection on this, didn't she? About listening.
She did. It was quite striking. She said, the course taught me to listen, to be more objective in my judgment.
More objective? How?
Because I always try to imagine why this person is saying this, why this person has this viewpoint. She's trying to understand the roots of their perspectives.
That takes real effort, empathy almost.
It does. And then she added, well, it taught me that I'm not always right.
Huh. A lesson we could all use.
Indeed. And notice it led her towards objectivity, towards a more considered judgment, not just shrugging and saying everyone's view is equally valid. It's about understanding, not necessarily just accepting everything uncritically. It's real personal growth.
That's a subtle but important distinction.
Very. And Adriano linked this perspective taking directly back to employers. That's what they value, being able to see an issue from the marketing angle, the finance angle, the technical angle.
Yeah, you need that in any complex job.
Absolutely, and it's a transferable skill. Sammy, who admitted not being a natural essay writer, still felt she gained these generalist skills in perspective taking.
And use them to help friends in totally different fields.
Right.
Like law and art history.
Right, so it's useful everywhere.
Okay, these 4 themes, openness, creativity, bridging, perspective taking, they paint a really compelling picture. But it does bring us back to that elephant in the room question you mentioned earlier.
The big one.
Does doing a degree like the BS actually create these qualities in students? Does it foster them? That's the strong position.
Right.
Or does it mainly just attract students who are already open-minded, creative, good connectors? The weak position.
Exactly. Nature or nurture. Does the program make the student, or does the student choose the program?
What did the research suggest?
Yeah.
Or the students themselves?
Well, it's tricky. The students themselves had different opinions on it. And we have to be careful with self-reporting. People might want to believe the course changed them.
Sure. Bias is possible.
But the chapter makes a good point. Even if you lean towards the weak position that it mostly attracts these types of students, these programs are still incredibly valuable.
How so?
Because they act like a magnet, right? They bring together these bright, motivated students who have these desirable traits. They give them a space to develop further, connect with each other, and then launch them into careers or further study where those skills are needed.
So even if it's just selection, concentrating that talent is a good thing.
It's a significant benefit, yes. Look at the positive outcomes for the graduates we talked about. That alone justifies offering these programs.
Okay, I get that. But it kind of leaves the bigger question unanswered, doesn't it? Can we definitively say the education itself transforms students who might start out less open or creative? Is that hope still there?
That's the million-dollar question, really. And this study, being qualitative with a small group, can't fully answer it. It's highly suggestive, and many students felt changed by the experience. But proving that causal link, showing the program specifically caused those psychological gains, that needs more research. Bigger studies, maybe tracking students over time, comparing them carefully to students in traditional programs.
Right. More rigorous, maybe quantitative studies to really nail down that strong position.
Exactly. We need more evidence to say with certainty that the curriculum itself is the primary driver of these changes for everyone, rather than just amplifying pre-existing traits in those it attracts.
Okay. So pulling it all together.
Yeah.
These qualities, openness, creativity, bridging, perspective taking. The chapter calls the development of these things meta-instrumental outcomes. That sounds a bit academic. What does it mean in plain terms?
Yeah, it does sound a bit jargony, but the idea is simple and powerful. It means the outcomes go beyond just learning specific facts or skills within one subject, like knowing chemistry formulas or historical dates.
Okay, so not just domain knowledge.
Right. Meta-instrumental outcomes are about learning how to learn, developing those metacognitive skills, thinking about your own thinking.
Okay.
And also fostering these fundamental dispositions or ways of being open-minded, being creative, being someone who connects ideas and understands different viewpoints.
So it's like upgrading your mental operating system.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's the underlying software that lets you tackle any kind of problem, learn any new thing more effectively. These skills aren't tied to one job or one field. They're universally applicable.
And that's why they're so valuable.
Absolutely. These are the skills that education systems, employers, governments, everyone says we need more of to deal with the complex challenges we face today. They're the deep, transferable skills that really count.
Okay. So just to recap for everyone listening, we've heard directly from students in an interdisciplinary program. They consistently point to 4 key qualities that really matter: being open-minded, being creative in solving problems, acting as a bridge between different fields or ideas, and genuinely being able to see things from multiple perspectives. And as we've discussed, these aren't just, nice to have academic skills. They are absolutely vital practical tools for everything. Your own learning, your job, understanding the world around you. It's about being better equipped for complexity.
Couldn't agree more.
And that really leads us to a final thought, maybe something provocative for you to chew on after this.
Okay.
If these skills these meta-instrumental skills are so widely valued, so clearly needed.
Yeah.
And if programs like the BESC seem deliberately designed to cultivate them, what does that mean for more traditional specialized education?
Good question.
Does traditional education have a responsibility maybe to adapt, to find ways to incorporate these kinds of approaches, even within specialized fields?
And tied to that is the question, is just being exposed to different perspectives enough to spark these changes? Or is it the specific design of the curriculum, the way it forces connections and tackles open problems, that really unlocks these skills potentially in anyone? Is it nature, nurture, or the learning environment itself?
Lots to think about there. Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.